So the 7900 XT and the 7900 XTX from AMD, the heavily awaited, hugely excited for GPUs have released. I do not own one, but reviews are out. You can see on this YouTube here, we've got tons of reviews out now already. All the review samples are out. They released, and AMD didn't lie, but they are not living up to this like crazy expectation that we've held for these GPUs. I don't know what has gotten into the community, but this like huge growing AMD has to beat Nvidia here, because Nvidia doesn't care about the consumer anymore, and we have to put them in their place. AMD has to put this hugely valuable product in place in order to compete with Nvidia. The whole graphics card community, the gaming PC gaming community has put this like expectation that these cards are a holy grail and they're the magic bullet to Nvidia and that they're gonna save us. And yeah, these cards, I mean, they don't blow you out of the water, okay? I've watched some reviews in particular from like Linus, Jay's Two Sons, which is actually great because Phil's on it now because Jay's on vacation, so Phil's great. And also, I don't know if you guys know who this guy is, but Daniel Owen, I've actually been watching him consistently for a few months now, and I really enjoy his content. In Linus's video in particular, they did a bunch of comparisons here. As to the current lineup of what's available, thank you, Linus, for doing these reviews here. The video is down here if you want to see that. You can see here that at 4K gaming, the in the blue is 7900 XTX, that's a $1,000 card. And then the 7900 XT, the $900 card, is in yellow. The $1,000 card outperforms the 4080 almost all the time. It looks like in 4K by about 9%, which is a good improvement. And it costs $200 less than the $1,200 4080 from Nvidia. The whole community has just been really mad at Nvidia because what used to be the 4080, the 80 series cards from Nvidia used to be about $600 at launch. So look at like the 1080, the 980, like back like 6 to 8 years ago, that's what they used to launch at, is like $600. And now over the past couple of years, those prices have kind of been getting creeped up. And now the 4080 launched at $1,200. To like the average gamer, maybe the one that is willing to spend a little bit more on their system, all of a sudden you can't really afford a 4080. But I'm also here to say AMD price their new cards at $1,000 as well. And not many people are going to afford a $1,000 card either. With the launch of the 7900 XT and the 7900 XTX, most people were looking so that they would make a card that would completely blow the 4080. Well, people were really hoping that it would blow the 4090 out of the water, but at least to blow the 4080 out of the water. And then everybody can point to this AMD card that is less money, so at least $200 less, and say, hey, this is a clear choice and you should always pick this one over the Nvidia one. But here we stand today, the 4080 costs $200 more and it's still worth $200 more, because even though it does underperform in gaming, it still performs better in ray tracing than the AMD card by quite a bit, by 20% over the $1,000 card. And honestly, for $100 less, getting the XT just doesn't even seem worth it. That card seems like a bad value once you're already spending $1,000. It's like the same thing with how the 4080 is basically marketed. It's just the 4080 is a bad value compared to the 4090. So Nvidia just wants you to buy the 4090, which is just hilarious to me. But the AMD cards still aren't going to beat them in ray tracing. I wouldn't expect over 2 generations AMD to beat Nvidia's 3 generations of ray tracing. It doesn't make sense. I don't know why the community was like, oh my God, these cards are going to kill them in every single way. And Nvidia is just pricing their way out of consumers and stuff. It's just not true. It's starting to make me think that these cards just cost this much now. Does like a 4080 just cost $1,200 now? Does this AMD GPU just cost $1,000 now? Because if you think about it year over year, of course, these cards get faster and faster for one. Two, they get more and more feature rich every single year. I mean, just think, before the last generation of AMD cards, before the 6000 series of cards, so the 6950 XT and stuff like that, before that, AMD didn't have ray tracing, and now we have ray tracing. Okay, and they're not really charging more than the last generation of cards for these ones. Now we have AV1 support for encoding and decoding and stuff. And there's AI support. There's AI cores in these cards now. It's like, yeah, you're still getting more value year over year. It's kind of crazy. At what point are we going to make a card that says, oh, this card doesn't have all these extra features that most people aren't going to use? This new card or whatever doesn't have any ray tracing or whatever. It just is really fast at rasterization, which is what most people want. Like, at what point in time are we going to just get a card that doesn't keep getting more features, which no matter what is just going to keep getting more and more expensive to make these cards? And then on top of that, inflation's kind of going crazy. So $1,000 for a card, maybe that's just what AMD had to price at this point in time. And it kind of sucks, but maybe that's all they could do. Or maybe they just understand that people will pay $200 more for the Nvidia card for the better ray tracing, or maybe they'll just pay for it for the better creative application support, because Nvidia still has more market share, so software support is on Nvidia's side for the most part. What kind of situation are we in with graphics card now? Are they just going to get more expensive, man? Are they ever going to come back down? Probably not. I think as a PC gaming community, we need to start setting our expectations a little bit lower, because I too was really, really excited that AMD would just completely blow Nvidia out of the water, and they're going to take a bunch of market share. I was really excited for that, man, because I've always been Team Red. I can't get them sometimes because I need like creative applications stuff. I mean, I would now with this GPU, you can see in this video, the main productivity app that I use for my stuff. I mean, I use FL Studio, but that's not GPU dependent. But with GPU dependent is DaVinci Resolve. And honestly, it seems like the new encoders on it are completely keeping up with Nvidia's cards, and they're actually so much faster than their old encoders, it seems like. So that gets me excited. The high-end consumer GPU market is honestly pricing itself out of its consumers. And $1,000 for a graphics card anyways is already starting to get to the point that just like, dude, who's really gonna buy it? I mean, it's unfortunate because I love AMD. I mean, I rock Ryzen in my system, and I've only owned a few GPUs since I've ever had a computer, and I would be down to go for AMD. I'm just scared with creative applications. Is it gonna have the support that's gonna have is like game AMD, at least for this generation, and their 6000 series has pretty much priced themselves in a way that, hey, you can, if you just want rasterized gaming performance, these cards kill it completely. Like, they have better value proposition than the Nvidia cards for pure rasterization performance. But if you want any of the extra features that Nvidia has, like better productivity or ray tracing, or the DLSS 2 or DLSS 3 or anything like that, the new engine and stuff that's coming out to like remaster old games and RTX and stuff like that. I forget what it's called. RTX Remix. If you want that kind of stuff, then I mean, you're looking at Nvidia. And if you're wanting for more game optimizations, you're also looking at Nvidia. Although AMD does still have quite a bit of game optimizations. You can see Daniel Owen's video. He actually talks about it here. And in Modern Warfare 2, the 7900 XTX actually beats the 4090. So the 4090 costs $600 more than the XTX, and the XTX beats it by 10 FPS. So that's actually a pretty crazy point. I think that these cards, like if the 7900 XTX was priced at $800, even if AMD was not making a huge like profit on these cards, man, the amount of market share they would get, holy bro. If the XTX was priced at $800, that would be glorious. And if it traded blows with the 4090, that would be embarrassing. Okay. But the XTX even beats out the 4080. Imagine if the XTX was $800 and the 4080 was $1,200. And then all of a sudden you're looking at an XTX that is 2/3 the price of a 4080 and beating it. Now, at that point in time, I'd say $800 starting to get to the point that it's actually kind of affordable for like a high-end gamer. I would maybe consider getting it. You know what I mean? But it's still out of our reach for most people. So I would just kind of urge you to probably not buy these new AMD cards. They're still priced pretty high. And again, we need to wait until the other cards come out, the lower end cards that usually have more value proposition associated with them. And I guess we'll see.